Last week, we absolutely crushed our Underdog Fantasy entry for UFC 307. We hit every single individual leg, and we're looking to ride that success right into UFC Vegas 98. If you don't know what Underdog Fantasy is, it's daily fantasy. You come in here, you say higher or lower than any of the numbers you see on the screen, and you can make a whole bunch of money. They'll even give you free money to play. The only thing you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/underdog. Use promo code WWP, and you have a ton of options around free money and boosts and things like that. Get your free money. Play this game. It's a ton of fun. And if you're comparing Underdog Fantasy to some of the other daily fantasy prop games out there, Underdog has the most options. By far. The most options and the biggest payouts. It's just that simple. So hop in now. wewantpicks.com/underdog. Promo code WWP. I did this little rant in my Prize Picks video. I mentioned we crushed last week. Dominated. Every single line that I put on there hit. How many people do you think said, whoa, nice job. Thanks, bud. 0. When we missed the card before that at UFC Paris, how many people do you think let me know that they missed? Yeah, all of them. Everybody. And that's the internet age. That's the internet age. So if you're watching this and you made a bunch of money last week because I put out a perfect entry and you're like, oops, maybe I should have spent a half a second, especially if you're somebody that previously has said, these missed, you blow. Just show me some love. You don't have to. Just wewantpicks.com/underdog. Use the promo code. We make a couple of bucks. It makes the time and the effort to even do these videos worth it. If nobody signs up with the link, these videos aren't worth it. I promise you that. So wewantpicks.com/underdog, promo code WWP. Let's dig in. Let's go ahead and build an entry. What I do love about Underdog, in all sincerity, is the flexibility. The fact that you have, let's look at these options on Tatsuro Taira. Not only do we have the normal fight minutes and significant strikes, we also can do knockouts, submissions, fantasy points, round finishes. We get over and under on finishes in general. There's a lot of options, and as the week goes on, you get more and more. I do encourage you, if you like something, hit it right then and there. You can always build a second entry later because the lines do move. So while they'll add more options to different fights, you may also lose some value on things that you like. So if you like them, hit them. And what I liked right off the rip is Tatsuro Taira lower than a half a finish. And we got a bunch of lower than half a finishes that I'm going to play here. I don't think Taira's going to finish Brandon Royval. If you go through Brandon Royval's fight history in the UFC, first of all, he has fought multiple current and former world champions, and he just beat the last champion. The best he's ever looked was in that fight against the former champion. And he did lose by finish the first time they fought, but that was 3 years ago. He fought Alexandre Pantoja earlier this year for a title. He lost a decision where he landed way more strikes, just couldn't defend the takedowns. Was he finished? No. I don't think Tatsuro Taira is going to finish him. You're telling me Tatsuro Taira, who has a finish over Alex Perez in a fluke fight, a knockout finish over a gentleman that's not very good and no longer in the UFC. He got guillotined by Edgar Chairez, dropped by Edgar Chairez. Like, Tatsuro Taira might be the future. He might be. I don't know. We won't know. This will be the test, right? If he blows through Brandon Royval, then I'm dumb and this guy is good as hell. But for now, I'm going to settle on the fact that he's relatively untested, not necessarily a finisher, because if you look at his finishes against people no longer in the UFC or a freak knee injury, and before you comment that knee injury wasn't a freak with Alex Perez and he did it on purpose, he literally is in an interview saying I didn't do that on purpose. People were breaking that down, being like, look what he did here. And he was like, no, that was an accident. I just climbed on his back. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't think he's finishing Brandon Royval. I don't think he wins. But to be safer, we'll say I don't think he finishes Brandon Royval. I am actually not going to touch the Brandon Royval finish because Brandon Royval is a finisher. But who knows? We're just going to leave that alone. Let's work our way down after all that ranting. The Brad Tavares Jun Young Park fight. We're going to go lower than a half a finish as well on Jun Young Park. And obviously the line's, 0.64, so they reduce it a little bit because if Jun Young Park wins, he's just going to grind out a win, and he might do that. But he's not the most dangerous guy. And I get Brad Tavares looked chinny in his last couple of fights, but there's not really a ton of power coming from Jun Young Park's side. If Jun Park wins, it's a forward, grindy takedown situation. And Brad Tavares is pretty durable on the ground. 81% takedown defense, fighting some of the best middleweights that have ever lived. So we're going to go ahead and trust our gut here that Jun Park, win or lose, isn't going to win by finish. And the lower than a half a finish accounts for them losing, which is great. So, like, the only way you miss, so he could win the fight by decision, you're good. He could lose the fight. Any means necessary, you're good. If he finishes his opponent, that's where you lose. So I like the under on a finish in certain situations, especially people who I just don't think you're going to win. If we continue to work our way down, we got Grant Dawson, the wet blanket, can't finish his way through a sandwich. Grant Dawson, same logic. I think he wins this fight. I think it's 15 minutes of insanely boring wrestling. That's what we've seen out of Grant Dawson his entire career, let alone post being knocked out by Bobby Green. So I don't think he's going to finish here. And if there is a finish in this fight, it's the Rafa Garcia side. So we're going to add that. We'll work our way down. The very last leg here is Temba Garimbo, higher than 34.5 significant strikes. This was a pretty straightforward one to me. If you go look at Temba Garimbo's strikes, he's landing at decent volume. If you then take the time to look at his opponent, Nico Price, how often he gets hit a shit ton. He's a negative striking differential. So the combination of a guy that lands at good volume and a guy that gets hit with a ton of volume, we're good to go. Even in fights that didn't fully go the distance, these numbers look pretty good. And Nico should be durable enough to survive here. Temba's like one punch knockout was against Magical Fu Pete Rodriguez, who was cut a while ago. So I think we're good here. This is going to be the entry. I already have it placed, so let's take a look at it. We've got the 4 picks. Temba Garimbo, higher than 34.5 significant strikes. Jun Park, lower than a half a finish. Tatsuro Taira, lower than half a finish. And Grant Dawson, lower than half a finish. I loaded it up on the guys who I think could either A, lose, or B, if they win, it's certainly not going to be by finish. And then we added the Temba strikes at that even money. This is my entry. If you love it, great. If you don't like this entry, that's fine too. Build your own. Just get your free money. WeWantPicks.com/underdog, promo code WWP.